Let's call this sheet collaboration. Okay. And let me share which one. I have 1,000 screens here. Let's share this one. Make this bigger. Right. Okay, so we will be starting today with what will be a 4-week period, the last project, the collaborative project. And for this, we have already assigned some teams. You have seen them. I hope you feel happy with your teams. As someone said, I think it's okay. Like, I know many of you did not really send me any preferences because you told me that in the real world, I wouldn't get to choose who to work with. So I have to deal with what I get. So that's also a good way of thinking about it. But I think we created some good teams and we are happy to see the results. So let me see. So the objective from this phase, from the collaborative project phase, is mostly to concentrate on the teamwork and all of that has to do with teamwork. That is, divide the tasks, communicate, learn how to prioritize the tasks, share, help each other, do some pair programming or team programming, and at the same time, also a big part of the collaborative project is how to work with the JIT and GitHub. So until now, you were working individually with that, and you were just pushing the changes, committing, pushing, and you didn't have to deal a lot with conflicts. But a huge part of our work when we work in a team is to deal with working in the same repository, and when we want to integrate different parts of the program, then deal with the conflict. So we will learn how to create different branches for the features that each one of you is working. Then when you want to merge your branch with the main, how to open a pull request, how to review other people's code, merge, and then get a bit familiar with all this new JIT process. And solving JIT conflicts will be a big part of our work these next weeks. Another objective of this phase is to improve a bit the database design skills, because until now, probably in your project, you either didn't have any backend or you had a simple one with 1 or 2 tables. Then I have seen some in the feature extension that you have also did your first trials with 3 tables, which were great. So now the idea is also that you will most likely have some bigger database, 3, 4, 5 tables, maybe try some of the more complex relationships, one to many, many to many, and see how this works. And also another objective is to learn how to deploy, to use different libraries and technologies than the basic project scaffolding. And you have also already started with this, also in the feature extension phase. I have seen many of you that tried different libraries and that you have seen for React that exist, that solve specific needs that you went ahead and you had to integrate it. And so also from this that we are seeing in the Flash lectures, like the context, we will see maybe how to use WebSockets or file upload. So different smaller libraries that will help us in specific problems. Okay, so the first step when we will start with this collaborative project is the technical design, same as we did with the MVP. Just that now you will do brainstorming and you will decide among all what will be the project idea and the design and everything. You will come up with an idea and then we will discuss it together to see if it's feasible, if it looks too small or too big, we should add something or remove something. It must include the following components. So it must be a full stack project this time, we cannot skip it. So it should include a front end and a server and a database. And at the same time, it should include some third-party API. Some of you already did that, so it's good that you have some experience before. Here there is a link. Let me see. There are, I don't know if this one is updated. I will share, if not, no, this one is the old one. Okay, I will share you, I think it was in the previous documents, 3 or 4 links of where you can find APIs that can give you free APIs to use, that can give you ideas. And it should include also like some README with future features, what you want to do that you probably cannot do during this project. And also on the README, you are getting really better by creating READMEs, and you have seen the importance of this when we did the feature extension, that you had to read the code of the other. So to create some good README with a good description and maybe following screenshots like the user flow, the database schema, API routes, architecture, etc. This is not, of course, the first thing that you will do. Probably this will come later as you build your code, and then maybe at the end you will create a full version of README. But you could use these tools to start already designing your project. So the technical design will be this, say similar to MVP, just that you have to do it all together. We will brainstorm for ideas. You decide how you will divide your work. So for example, maybe one of you is very strong on the front end and another one is very strong on the back end, and you want to continue like this. So you say that I really want to continue working on the front end. Then you could divide the work like this. Okay, then you do this and you do the databases. Or maybe it's the opposite. You had your MVP on the front end and you feel like you are lacking a bit of practice on the database, and you may want to offer to say, okay, I will handle the database because I want to practice that part which I have been missing. And then you can divide it like this. Or you can say that I want to do a full thing, so a bit of this, a bit of that, so that I know how every bit is connected. And so then we'll simply have different tasks on when we organize the task in our Trello. Probably we will use Trello. I think Gustavo will show you how to use Trello. And then you will have in your Trello board many tasks, both from front end and from back end, and you will simply start picking one from the other, etc. So the way that you divide your work, it's totally up to you. You decide how to do it. And you should decide probably on one person that would be your product owner, project manager, that will be responsible for adding things on the Trello after you discuss together. So we will be doing the Scrum process. That means that every morning the team will talk with each other, we'll do a stand-up, say where you are currently at, what you are working on, and what are your blockers. And then you decide all together from the list of activities that you have, which ones to choose for, let's say, the next week, for the next sprint. In fact, I think the sprint will be 10 days. We will start on Wednesday when Gustavo will show you all this process, and we will define a sprint period for like the Monday after that, so in 10 days time. So you decide which tasks you will be doing in these 10 days. And you also have the help of a teacher assistant to help you do a bit with the Scrum process, to help with these stand-ups and organizing the tasks at the beginning, at least until you get the hang of it. And another advice before we start with how to build and everything is to really check the API before you commit to it. You have already seen it. It was a typical thing that happened, that you thought that you liked an API and you decided on a project around that API. And then when you started working with it, it either didn't have the content that you expected, or the documentation was not very clear, or it had a very limited daily allowance, and so it created some issues. And so one advice is that before you commit to an API and you build your apps around it, study it, and see if it suits your needs. Especially these three things: the content, the data that you get, the documentation, and the daily limits, or what the free account allows you to do. Because there can be things that are a premium, unless you decide you want also to invest and pay for a premium on that API. Maybe it's cheap, and so you can have more options. Right, okay, so the first part will be the design and brainstorming. And then the second part, at least for today, for starting, is to start with the repository. We will work with 3 repos that I already created in the Cogdo account. And I shared the links to you. I invited you, each team on her own repo as a collaborator. So one of the team members, will be the responsible for creating the scaffold of the project. Same as we did with the MVP. We have the project scaffolding here. Remember how we did? We created the backend with the Express generator. We used Express generator. We created all the structure for the server. And then we installed maybe some of the things that we are sure that we're going to need, like MySQL, NodeMon, .env, course, even React Router DOM you can already install because you probably are going to use the React Router. So you already install some of the things that you know that you will need. Do some of these things that say here, we will go through it later, and then also create the front end. Where is the front end? The React scaffolding. Here it suggests that you use the Create React app. I know that there have been some changes during the weekend. I don't know if we are still, I did not check it today. I don't know if we can still use this. If not, we will see the alternatives that are, because it's okay, there are always some alternatives that we can use. Vite, for example, Vite, the same that we are using for Vue. And at the end, we just create also the folder for the front end, and we put it inside the server, same as we did with the MVP. We set up the proxy. Here, okay, let's come to this one later. This is a bit of a different way of creating a proxy. You don't have to do it like this, but we will see it. It's another way of creating this proxy connection that we did, where we were setting up that client had to communicate with a proxy in the port 5000. So you can create it in this way. And then when you have all the structure created locally, just one of the team members, you push it to the repository that I have just shared with you. And so then the repo will have this empty version, clean, of the team project with just the initial structure and files. So you create it to the repository. You don't need to, you push it to the repository. You don't need to create it. I have already done this. And so following the instruction, you add that on the repository. Okay, we will come back to this later. We create the repository. This was already created. We create the app by following the scaffolding instructions, and then we share it we push it to the repository so that each team member can have access to this. Then this is like the last part. We will come back to this at the end, like during the last week, is that, of course, the design is not something that you have to do on the last week, but this, you should take care of it since day one. Decide use Bootstrap if you want to use something else. Also on the design on itself, like the colors, the fonts, everything. Try to make this project as polished as possible, and remember that this will be part of your portfolio. And then for the presentation, we can come back to this section when the presentations are due on the last week. They will be a bit longer. So now we will have around more than 20 minutes. It says actually no less than 20 minutes. So it should be an extended presentation with explaining everything around your project, the design that you have chosen, also the technical design, like database design, and the APIs that you use, the technologies, all the difficulties that you had to come as a team, and then also probably all team members. We will see if all team members will have to talk or just you decide, like a representative, and she will talk. So this is just for the demo at the end. It will be a public demo, so it will be open for others to join, other instructors, and also open to the outside of CodeUp, because maybe someone is interested on the bootcamp and wants to see what we are working on what are the projects that we work on during the bootcamp. And so this is also a good opportunity for these other people to see our work live. Okay, so questions on this first part? Okay. Let's talk a bit about the GitHub collaboration project. And I'm going to use a repo that I have here to do some tests, and so that we see how we'll do this. Okay, so here it's a very empty project, same as if I had scaffolded the project from the start and pushed it here. It's the one that I used when we were doing the MVP to just show you how we scaffold the project and we push it on our GitHub. And so this will be what you will have after your team representative has created the scaffold and pushed it to your repository on GitHub. So the rest of the team members will have to clone this repo. Okay, one is creating it, is pushing it, so that one person already has the local copy and has already pushed it. And then the rest of the team members will come here, same as we did with the activities, and will clone the team repo. Okay. Right. This is MVP. Let me also open it so I have it here if I need it. So this thing that you have downloaded is an empty project. It has all the structure, but it's empty, and it has just one branch, the main branch. So if you write G status, you would see that there is just one branch, the main branch, that is up to date with what we have here on the repo. So the way that we work is that the first thing that we do is that we create, whenever we want to start creating different features, and so each one of you will create different features, we will be creating different branches. We never work on the main branch directly. The main branch is our stable version of the code. It's when we have already worked on a feature, we have tested it, we know it doesn't have any bugs, and then we want to merge it with the main, and so that we have it there for the rest of the group also to access it. But if I now, let's say I want to start on a navbar, then I have to create a different branch that will be for the navbar, for doing all my tests and practicing and errors and whatever I want to do with the navbar, without touching the main branch for now. And this will happen to all of you. So all of you, the first thing, you download the repo, and then you create a branch that you start working with. So we will have two different repos. One is what we call origin, is the one that is hosted here on the GitHub on the CodeUp account. This is what is the origin repository. And then we have the local repository. When we clone it, we will have here our own version of the repo that is the local. And then we will be working with branches. The main branch is the branch that should always contain the working version of your app. A working version here meaning a stable version, an app that it's working, not an app with bugs and errors. Okay, that's the ideal. But the main is something that it's working. And then you create different branches on local when you work locally, first local, and then you also push it on GitHub, where you will do your work. And let's say that its team member creates one with her own name. And so for that, we create Git branch Anna. Let's see. I think I need to do. Let me see how it's. I thought it was here. Check out. My brand name. Yes. Okay. Most of the times. Okay. Now with the -b you create it, or with Git branch you create it, and then with Git checkout you change to that branch Anna. So now I'm working with this branch, and actually you can also do these things here on the VS Code. So you could go here and switch branch with the checkout too, and then you decide which branch to use. So let's say now I'm on the branch Anna. This branch is not published yet on the GitHub repo, on the origin or the remote repository. Okay, it's a branch that I only have locally. It's okay for now, it doesn't matter. I can start working on it, do some things, and then at the end, when I have some changes, I publish it also that it's also there on the GitHub. So here you will see that there is only one branch, the main branch. There are not other branches, but you will each have your own branch. Anna, Sofia, Maria, different branch, and each one will have her own branch and we'll work on that. So let's say I get my branch and hello world from Anna's branch, and modify one of the files. So I modify this, let's say I finished, that's my feature, my task that I had was to do that. And so then I need to try to push it and to merge it. So I first commit all my changes. You can commit it from here, or you can commit it from the terminal. I will show you now through the VS Code. I think you will be mostly doing it through VS Code, but you could also do all the Git things through the terminal here. So finished, let's say finished, let me update, commit, and then I publish my branch. So this publish is going to be done only the first time, because the first time that you publish a branch, it was not existing, so it says publish. Then the rest of the times, I will simply say commit, and then you will push the changes upwards to the origin repo. Okay, so here already, when I publish my branch, and every time consequently, when I have a different change to that branch, you will see that appears a message that you have some recent changes, and you have to compare with the main branch and create a pull request. So this green button here. Let's click it and see what happens. So we see that we have our base branch that is main, and this new branch that I created with some change, some modification. And now what I want to do, since I finished, I tested, I created this feature, I don't want to change anything else, let's say for now, I want to merge it with the main branch. So the main branch includes all the changes, and the rest of the team members can also fetch, pull these changes and have an updated version on their local. So the first occasion is that the change was very simple. It was on a file that no one else has touched. So we are directly able to merge without any problem. GitHub can do the merge on its own. So this is like the easy case because I touched the README, but no one else has really touched the README. So just one updated README and it will take this one. Okay, so maybe I can leave some comments here. Normally it's good that you leave some comments, like what were the changes that you introduced, because normally when we create a pull request, we are asking for someone else to review our code. I created a version that I think it's stable. I'm trying to push it to the main, but of course, main is affecting everyone. So the official procedure is that you ask from someone else of the team members to review your code. So that you have like a second pair of eyes to detect something maybe that you did not detect before you merge to the main. This is the normal process. Maybe at the beginning, it will be a bit too difficult to have everyone reviewing others' code, but actually this is so that you know the process on how it works. This is how it's done. So here I have included my name on the README file, and it works. Not, I don't know, some comments. And you can also here supposedly choose who will review your code. So let's say I'm in a team with Tati and Monica, and here I will say Tati. And then she will be the responsible to do the final check and merge when she finds that the code is okay. So I create the pull request, and the pull request means that someone else has to approve and merge. So you can require that someone else reviews what you have done, and if everything is okay, you can see here on this pull request. So even if you're not here, so let's say I'm someone else now, and I go to our common repository, and now I'm Tatiana. I'm going here, and I see that there is one pull request. I can go to the pull request tab, and I see that Anna required that I merge some code. There is a pull request open. I can click it. Here there is some explication of what she has done, like which file she has modified and what is exactly the change that she's introducing. And here we can see if there are any conflicts or if everything is okay and it can be merged. In this case, it's a very simple case, and I can simply merge, confirm merge, and then this is successfully merged to the main branch. You could also now delete the branch, because how it works normally, it's like I'm opening a branch that is, for example, for navigation bar. I finish the navigation bar, I merge it, I delete navigation branch. Then I open a different branch. Now I'm going to work on the database. So this is the database branch. I'm working on this, I finish my task, I merge it, I delete it. So you don't really, branches are something that is very volatile. It's very for short term, for doing some tests, for working a bit on your code before merging it to main. Once you merge it, you can actually delete this branch and work on a different one. But let's say that we will just have the Anna branch and we will continue working there. Okay, so now on the code, on the main branch, we will see that the README has included the changes. It has done the merge, and it has included the changes from Anna's branch. And so this was the easy case when just one person worked on the README and there was no conflict. Let me review if I'm forgetting something. I have shared this also for reference. I have shared this document with you. And so, okay, it says that we will have these branches. We will create the repo, and you will create the scaffolding of the project, and you will push it to the GitHub. So this part is what one person will do, one person from your team. You create the scaffolding and you push it. Check also this line here, the number 2, that on the gitignore file, when we normally add the node modules and everything, try to also add the package log.json, because this, normally we don't add it, but this in this case may create some merge conflicts that are not really necessary. So to make our life easier, the person who scaffolds the project also remember to add package log.json to the gitignore file, so that this file doesn't affect whenever we try to do some push. And then we stage and commit the scaffold, and then we have our repo. And then the rest of the team project clones the repo and creates her own working branch. And so the normal development process is that once you have some code that you want to share with your team, you transfer it from your local to the origin, and then you open a pull request. Okay, so you transfer it. This is what, if you do it through the terminal. If you do it through the terminal, you may see this message. The first time that you push, it's because the repo doesn't exist on the GitHub, and it will say that it's not connected to anything on the GitHub, and then you will have to write this command. But as you have seen, when you do it through the VS Code, actually you can skip this. If you do the publish, it already does this automatically. So these are the commands if you are doing it through the terminal. If you're doing it through VS Code, it's a bit easier. And okay, and this is like the easy process of merging the two branches together when there is no conflict. Okay, so now I'm on my local again. I have pushed this, and what I want to do is to actually get anything that is new from the from the remote repository, from the origin, because the same as I pushed some changes and I merged them, other people from the team may have also merged. So whenever I finished with one of the features, then the next thing is to get again a new version of the main. So pull any changes that they have been done, so that I have a new version of the main locally, and then create some new branch, let's say, but from the updated version of the main, so that I always have an updated version of the main locally, and then all the branches start from there. So I'm going to go back to the main branch, and I'm going to fetch, I think there is this icon also here. That downloads, fetches everything. If not, here you can also fetch or pull. And so now on my computer, I also have on my local, I also have like the merged version of this README. This is for the main, and I can now create a new branch. Or what I can do is the terminal to get recent changes from origin. So when you commit your changes and you push and everything, and you want to make sure that you have the latest version from the main, so you go back to the main repo, same as we did on the VS Code. Okay, and then you write this git pull rebase. This will pull all the changes from the main, and what it will do is it will also move your ANA branch to now start, let's say, from the new main. So the previous branch was, imagine this as a tree. I think I have some slides I will show you now. Every time you create a branch on the tree. So the main is like the main part of the tree, and your branches are coming out of the tree. And then when the main moves, because people add things to the main and it's updated, then your branch it also has to move. And this rebase is what it does. It moves your own branch, the main branch, also to now be connected to the updated version of the main. So on this code, some of these things are easier. They are done more like automatically, but also in case in VS Code you cannot manage because you see some weird error, you can always do it through terminal as well. This is, of course, you will see this while we start working. So now we see it a bit in theory, and it's a bit hard to grasp all the commands, but we will see it also when we start working. Okay, let's try to create some conflict. So, and see how we could solve it. So let's say I'm back on my Anna branch. And I decided I want to add something new here. And at the same time, I'm going to do this here because now I don't have different users. The ideal would be that I have different users, and you see what happens if different users have different versions of the code and they try to do things. I will try to do it directly here. So let's say that someone else has created another branch name Vicky. And going to change to Vicky's branch and edit also the README file. So now Vicky also is editing Vicky's file. And so here she writes hello from Vicky's branch and she commits the changes. And I have also updated the README file, and I also want to commit the changes. Here. And with this, I push the changes to the main branch, to my branch on the origin. So let's see if we have some conflict. Okay, request. So Vicky tries to merge with this. Okay, so now there was some issue. It was solved by the GitHub. This branch has no issue. Let me check. Okay, I merge Vicky's, and then I'll try to merge Anna's. And so Anna is also trying to do. Okay, so Vicky has done some change on the README, has pulled before me. So before Anna, Vicky changed the README, has pushed the change, has managed to merge the change because compared with the main, it was okay. She could easily merge it. And so now the main is updated with Vicky's change. But when then Anna also tries to do a pull request, we get this message that we can't automatically merge because it detects that when Anna started to work, main was a different version, and she tries to put some changes, but meanwhile, this same README file has changed by someone else. And so it cannot automatically merge because it doesn't know which change to keep from the two. So you can see here there are some changes. You can still create the pull request. And then someone will have to review the code and decide which there is a conflict and decide which line of the code should use. So if two people have changed this thing, then someone has to manually do this, resolve conflict. So let's see what is happening. Here we have this message. You get some indicator from GitHub that Anna has this on her branch and Vicky has this on her branch on the README. So we have these two different things and we need to know which one to keep. And this you can do it manually. So you come here and you say, okay, I decide I will keep Vicky's maybe and just delete the rest and mark as resolved and commit merge. So in these cases, you will have to manually go there and see what happened and one of you, so not all the team members, maybe in communication between you, because maybe if two people have changed the code, these two people need to communicate between the two and decide, okay, what was your change, which one we keep, etc. Now I can merge it, and now everyone will have this version where it says that Vicky's branch. And so Anna also has this because we decided that we keep this. Ideally, to avoid this, first, you try not to work on the same files. Okay, so let's say that if I'm going to be working on navigation bar, then Monica doesn't work on the navigation bar at the same time. Maybe later we can change and you can do something. But while I work on the navigation bar, there is some communication and you say, okay, maybe you do something on the back end and you try to fix the databases. So at that, in this case, when you will be pushing changes, there will be on different files. And if they are on different files, they will not create conflicts. And you can merge the different changes with pull requests and we have changes from everyone. But it may be the case that you say, okay, I'm going to work on a component for login, and then I'm going to work on a component for a user view. But the login component also needs to do some small change on the app.js file. And the user view component also needs to change something on the app.js file. So the app.js file will be like a common file where both of you will probably have done some changes. And then you will try to do the merge and it will create a conflict. In this case, you will simply review and probably will have to keep the changes from both because probably you added different lines of code if you are working on different features. Okay, so the simple merge conflicts, as you will see them, they will be highlighted either in VS Code or here on the GitHub, or if you try to do it on VS Code, you will also see it will open the file and you will be allowed to edit this and decide which one you keep. And then for the more complex conflicts, we will see them when we come there. We may have to go back and decide which one of the branches to keep, etc. We try to avoid, as I was saying, serious conflicts by working on different parts of the code. Maybe we cannot work on different files because one file is common, but if I'm going to simply add the line that is not affecting the code of the other, then at the end, I'm just going to keep all lines, the new lines on the common file, and it's not going to be a big deal. But if two people are working on the navigation part, it will for sure create conflict. So this we'll try to avoid. Okay, questions? at the beginning, we will help you a lot with this merging and conflict resolution so that you get used to it. And then the idea is that you also learn how to handle this pull request, because it's an everyday process when you work in a team. You create a branch, you submit it, and you ask for pull request so that it's there. Let me show you, I have some slides also, but there are quite a lot, and I don't think we really need all of them. Well, some of them are just animation. Okay, so the branches, it's what we create when we want to work on a different feature. As I go through them, most of the things I have already mentioned, but if you see that something is not cleared, let me know. So with the git status command, you can see how many branches there are and in which branch you are working. And also you get a message or if your branch is up to date with the origin. We need them because when we work on different people on the same project, we want to ensure that there is one branch, the main branch, that it's the correctly working one, and the others are for testing and for trying different things and for work in progress, let's say. So whatever we have as a work in progress should be on a different branch. So here is our master branch, and every time we commit and we add something, this line, this timeline moves. And when we create a branch, it's kind of creating a different timeline. So it deviates from the master branch, and let's say I have here my work and then someone else's work. And then we work on this personal local timeline, we do our commits, we do our tests, and at some point, the idea of this branch is always to be merged eventually at some point with the main branch. So I deviate from the merge, I work, I merge. And then I create some other branch, I work, I merge. So this is what normally happens. So we have the repo created, we push some changes, and then we create a branch for working on something, in this case called pre-processing. We create some file, and then we merge the file that we created with the master branch. Now it's not called master, it's called main. This has changed. And you can create a branch either through the VS Code or through the git command I have shown you. So you could go here to the VS Code, and I'll share also these slides if you like, because I think these slides, they are more dedicated on VS Code. This document, the GitHub collaboration workflow, shows more of the commands on the terminal, and these slides, they discuss more of if you are doing the work on VS Code. So you can create new branch, open this menu, create new branch, you can create a new branch also here. And down here on the VS Code, you can also see which branch you are working with. It's also visible when you, so this one here is the branch that I'm working with. Also, if you open a terminal and you have this extension installed, you will also see this branch. So it will indicate in which branch you are working. So have a quick check every time that you start working to know that you are working on the correct branch. Okay, so then you can also create the branches directly on GitHub, but I don't recommend this. Normally we create the branches locally and then we push the changes on the branches on the GitHub. The pull request is our basic process for merging a branch into another branch. And normally it will be to the main branch. This process is called pull request because you are requesting for someone else to review your code and pull the changes that you have done and merge them with the main branch. So you are telling essentially to the rest of the developers that first, that you are finished with your task. Second, that it's ready to be integrated. And third, that it's ready to be checked by other people. So this process is called code review. And we normally, as I said, assign to someone else to also have like a double check, because let's say you are junior developers, you are not directly going to be merging things on your own on the branch, on the main branch. Normally you will have someone else. You will, when you think you are finished with your feature, you will ask for a pull request, and then a more senior developer will double check before merging it. That's how it works. And then if you are more experienced developer, even then among different developers, one is always checking the code of the other so that we know that there are not some silly error missed. So the pull request, you can either directly, if it appears this yellow, whenever you push your changes, you will probably see it. It will appear this yellow here menu with a green button, compare pull request. And if not, you can go manually to pull request tabs and click on new pull request to start a new pull request. Then you have to check these two things when we start the pull request. This on the left, it's the base, it's where the merge will be done to. So this will be your branch and it will be merged to this one. So the left, it's the base, is when you want to merge into, and the compare, it's the branch from where you want to pull the changes. You can change them here manually if they are not correctly set. And here you see in a bit of a color visual way the changes that have been done since the last update. So with the green color, it's the things that they have been added. So you can see what has been added, deleted, or modified. With the red, it's the deleted part. And then you open the pull request, and if you are lucky, there is no conflicts, and then you just click merge, confirm, and it's merged. The best practice is to write, as it's also say here, some description of what your pull request does. So this is the code review. Just trying to make sure I don't forget anything from the pull requests. And you could delete the branch and create a new one once you're finished. This could also be a good practice, because normally the branch is not going to have our name. When we work with the team, it's going to have the feature thing that we are working. So this branch is for adding login, and this branch is for creating a menu. So the branches are for specific tasks normally, and once they are merged, they are deleted. So this is also a good practice if you want to try it like this. And this will avoid you also to have branches that are different branches that now no longer need to be. So whenever you finish merging something, just delete that branch and create a new one for starting over with the new updated version of the main. And here there is an example of a conflict. So we have our main repository, then we have two different branches created, one from person A, one from person B, and each one starts to work on some script. And let's say person B is the first one that uploads, finishes, uploads, and merges her changes. So in this case, this person B will not find yet any conflict, but at the moment that the person A tries to do some merge, it will find some conflict that we have to resolve, because the main branch has changed since the moment where we deviated from it. That's why this conflict has been created. And so this happens all the time. It's not that you did something wrong. Really, you will find it. It will happen all the time. It's part of the experience. And then when this happens, you have to manually resolve it and check which code snippet to keep, basically, and solve it. So you can do it in VS Code. You will see that you will have something opening that will show you the two versions, and you can do it in VS Code, same as we did it in GitHub before, that it shows from which person its change has came. So let me see if there is here visually. Yes, you will see it in the same way. So you will see marked what is from one person, what is from the other with these symbols. And then you manually edit the file and you keep the one that you want. And you resolve it, merge it, and that's it. I'll share you also this slide because I think if you work with VS Code, there can be a bit more helpful. Okay. So let's start. And we will see this in the process. Today, we're not going to do any coding, but you already have your GitHub repos created. And I have already shared the project scaffolding document. So we also created some channels on our Slack for each team, so that you can communicate internally and talk to each other, same as we do in the other channels, just that this will be like your team channel, and Vicky is also part, so that you can ask for her help or guidance or feedback. I will open breakout rooms. So I will open some 3 breakout rooms so that we start getting a bit each other, discussing. And the idea today is to just finish the scaffolding, have this empty project on your repo and on your local, each person of the team, and that you start simply discussing ideas, do some initial design and paper, maybe have a look at the APIs and think what you could use. Okay, so I'll open the stop the recording.